In 1932, the Australian military declared war on a bird and lost. I'm not exaggerating. Soldiers, machine guns, an actual military operation against emus, and the emus won. Let me explain how this happened, because it genuinely gets more ridiculous the deeper you go. So after World War I, the Australian government gave a bunch of land in Western Australia to returning soldiers as farmland as a way to help them resettle. These guys became wheat farmers, mostly in a region near a place called Campion. Then the Great Depression hit. Wheat prices crashed. The farmers were struggling badly, promised subsidies from the government that never really showed up in full. Life was already hard. And then, on top of all that, around 20,000 emus showed up. Emus migrate after their breeding season, heading toward the coast in search of water and food. And that year, for whatever reason, a massive number of them decided the coast meant marching straight through newly cleared farmland, which happened to be full of wheat. 20,000 giant flightless birds, each one basically the size of a person, just tearing through crops, trampling fences, eating everything in sight. The farmers were desperate. Their livelihoods were being wiped out by a literal bird invasion. So a group of veteran farmers went to the government and asked for help. And somebody in the Australian Ministry of Defence had, let's say, an interesting idea. Send in the army with machine guns. I want you to really sit with that decision for a second. Someone in an actual government meeting looked at a bird problem and said, you know what this needs? Artillery. They assigned Major GPW Meredith to lead the operation. He had 2 soldiers under his command, armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and around 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The plan was simple on paper. Round up the emus, mow them down, problem solved. November 1932, the Great Emu War officially begins. The first attempt did not go well. The soldiers spotted a group of around 50 emus. They opened fire, and the emus scattered instantly in every direction because it turns out emus are actually fast. They can run around 30 miles an hour, and they do not run in a neat little line for you to shoot them in. The gunners barely hit anything. A few days later, they tried a different approach. They spotted around 1,000 emus this time and set up an ambush near a dam, where the birds would need to come drink water. Great plan, except the gun jammed after firing only a dozen or so rounds. The entire flock scattered before they could fire again. Then Major Meredith had what he probably thought was a genius idea. Mount one of the machine guns onto the back of a moving truck so they could chase the emus down while firing. This did not work either. The truck could not keep up with the birds across the rough terrain, and the ride was so bumpy that the gunner could barely aim at all. At one point, an emu reportedly got tangled in the truck's steering mechanism, causing the vehicle to swerve off course while the soldiers were trying to shoot at other emus running alongside it. By the end of the first week, they had used around 2,500 rounds of ammunition. Official estimates on emus actually killed range wildly, with some reports claiming as few as 50. Some say a few hundred more died later from wounds. Either way, it was an embarrassingly small number for the amount of firepower involved. News of this reached Parliament, and it did not go well for anyone. One member of the Australian House of Representatives reportedly joked that if a medal were being struck for this campaign, the emus deserved it, since they had won every round so far. The operation was called off after about a week. The military formally withdrew. The emus, meanwhile, continued doing exactly what they had been doing before any of this started. Wandering through farmland, eating wheat, completely unbothered. The farmers asked for military help a second time later that year, and the government actually agreed again, sending Meredith back out for another round. This second attempt claimed a somewhat higher body count, but it still fell absurdly short of solving the actual problem. Eventually, the government gave up on the military option entirely and switched to funding bounty systems and better fencing instead, which honestly worked a lot better than machine guns ever did. To this day, the Great Emu War gets referenced as one of the most humiliating tactical failures in Australian military history, and emus have basically become an unofficial symbol of national stubbornness because of it. There's even a bit of internet folklore, only half joking, that Australia technically lost a war to a bird. So next time you feel like you completely failed at something, just remember, a trained military unit with actual machine guns tried to fight birds, and the birds strolled away basically unbothered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the bizarre corners of history, make sure to like and subscribe for more.